All right, and for the SA20 there, in terms of that live cricket action, the Sunrisers Eastern Cape, they are 90 for the loss of 7, but we'll keep you updated. Let's now chat to Prince Mlimandlela Ndamase, who is a member of South Africa's Formula One bid committee. A very good evening to you, Prince Ndamase, and of course, welcome to the Full View. I want us to first touch on the process that needs to be followed before the sport of Formula One actually comes to the shores of South Africa. We now know that the request for expression of interest proposal deadline has been extended from the 31st of Jan to now the 18th of March. What made this decision come about in terms of the bid steering committee and government at large?
Well, good evening and good evening to your viewers. As you know, the minister announced the bid steering committee for this particular bid in December last year. He had put very tight deadlines in terms of us being able to finalize the process by the end of February. But at the same time, and I think with our enthusiasm to ensure that we can bring Formula One back to South Africa, it is important to ensure that we provide an equal opportunity and a fair opportunity to all promoters in the country who may have an interest to be able to submit comprehensive, sustainable and financially viable bids that could be able to represent us as a country and present a very seductive and a very compelling case before Formula One for us to be considered as a host country. And as such, based on some of the interaction and some of the engagements and the requests that we've received from some of those who are considering this particular opportunity, it has been the minister's decision, and supported by the committee, by the way, that we should extend this deadline to the 18th of March so that by the end of the day, we are able to ensure that whatever process we undertake, including our final bid and proposal to F1, is a bid that can be truly representative of our intentions and also display to the greatest ability and extent our commitment and ability to can be able to stage this particular motorsport and prestigious event in our country.
Now, of course, Prince, it's not a foregone conclusion in terms of which city will be hosting the Formula One race should it come to our shores. But as the bid steering committee, what exactly are you going to be looking at? And of course, I ask this question because we know that history has taught us that for Formula One to really work, it needs to have a good mix in terms of that host city. So what exactly will you be looking at?
Well, the document that we've issued out has been very clear in specifying the kind of requirements that Formula One requires of us as a country to satisfy, for us to be able to can convince them that as South Africa, we can be able to stage this kind of event in our country. And you must remember that it won't be the first time that Formula One has existed or has been staged in South Africa. Previously, it was hosted in our country over 30 years ago, and now an opportunity has once again come up for us to rehost Formula One once more. So the opportunity and the avenue open now through this particular process is that cities and promoters and provinces have the opportunity to can package a proposal, express their interest, so that as a committee we can then consider what is it that meets the requirements that Formula One has set before us for us to be able to can stage this kind of event. But secondly, what is it that will ensure that we put together the best proposal for South Africa as a country, and in this instance, I must say for Africa as a continent, to can be able to host this particular kind of event. So it is our intention, as we consider the various bids that we anticipate will receive, that we'll consider all those bids fairly. We'll give them all a very thorough review to ensure that whatever bid we are then taking forward, and not only as a promoter, but as South Africa, is a bid that is truly representative of our collective capacity and our collective experience and ability to can be able to stage a Formula One event Grand Prix in our country.
Let's touch on the economics of Formula One, because it can be a tricky balancing act. When you look at the estimates, when do you see us breaking even? Is it going to be after a 3-year or maybe a 10-year deal?
Well, I think that is a commercial decision and a commercial consideration that the promoters who are bidding for the opportunity will consider. We will see it in their proposals, because I assume part of the work that they will do is a due diligence on the commercials that are relating to this particular opportunity. But I think we must always derive from what the minister has said, and I think it's an important issue that it is in our national interest to be able to stage this kind of event, because the economic spin-off and benefits for South Africa, and not only in the short to medium term, but in the long term, are quite huge, and they require us to ensure that if we are successful, we will be able to make a great economic impact, more especially in ensuring that we are able to provide some injection into our economy in terms of growth, taxes, and including in terms of supporting the business sector in our country, but equally in terms of ensuring that we are able to inspire our people wherever they may be, because post-Formula One, we have an anticipation that not only should we be able to have economic impact, but we should also be able to build the dreams and aspirations of young people in this country who have a love for motorsport, so that tomorrow, or in a 10 years' time or 5 years' time, we can have Formula One racers who come from El Dorado Park, who come from Ngeleni in the Eastern Cape, who come from Ponta Yevel in the Western Cape, or anywhere else in the country, who become national ambassadors of who we believe we can be and what we can realize as a country if we stand united as a collective and we are able to display our abilities in staging and being able to host the world on our shores.
And finally, just quickly, Prince, in terms of deadlines, what are we looking at for submission, especially to the Formula One powers, to decide which calendar year we're going to be a part of, and which year are we actually bidding for?
Realistically, as a country, and the minister did announce this in his engagement in December, that we are looking at 2027 as the year that we could be potentially considered to be able to host a Formula One event in our country. Obviously, this is subject to a discussion with Formula One itself and how far we are able to push with our bid recommendation process, so that we can be able to start engaging Formula One as a national bid as a country towards hosting this particular event. But from where we are now, we have extended the deadline to the 18th of March to allow those promoters and interested parties and stakeholders who would want to bid to host this kind of event in our country and to be part and parcel of the chosen promoter of the event to submit their expression of interest. Thereafter, we will open a process where we'll go through an RFP process, which is a request for proposals, which will then require a more detailed proposal that would then be our final proposal that we take through to Formula One. But I must state, based on the minister's visionary leadership and decisive leadership and engagements, he has gone ahead, he has engaged the Formula One through its CEO, he has engaged the FIA, and there is great enthusiasm across the board. And one anticipates that once we finalize the bidding process, it shall be an easier route to ensure that we are able to reach our aspirations, hopefully for hopefully for 2027 as the year that will bring Formula One back to South Africa.
And of course, we know that Kigali, Rwanda, is also, constructing their circuit at the moment. Any discussions there with them? Are there any pointers that you are learning from them so far?
Well, the important point to make is that it's Africa's turn. And if it means that Rwanda must have a Formula One event and South Africa must also have a Formula One event, then so be it. And I think the minister has been very clear that we must shy away from the mischievous attempt of trying to make it as a competition between Rwanda and South Africa.
Yeah.
As you know, Europe has multiple Formula One events. Asia has multiple Formula One events. And therefore, Africa cannot be undermined and restricted to a single event. And therefore, if Rwanda has put up a bid and meets the requirements, as we are confident we will, and therefore they must be given a fair opportunity so that all of us can ensure that we are able to spread the fever and the excitement and the opportunity that comes along with this particular prestigious event, not only for South Africa, but for the continent of Africa as a whole. And if it's South Africa who gets to host it first, we will also not only be hosting it for South Africa, but we'll be representing the continent. And we will ensure that the continent as a whole is able to put up its hand and display what it is that we are made of and what it is that we are capable to deliver.
Prince, that is the perfect way to actually end the conversation. Thank you so much for making time for us. That is Prince Mlimandlela Ndamase, who is a member of the South Africa's Formula One bid committee. That's where we'll leave it for now from the Sports Desk. The Full View continues shortly after this.